Hey everyone, Israel is currently in a war against the terror organization Hamas, and we know how hard it can be to keep up with all the news. So if you haven't had the time to stay on top of the latest developments out of Israel, we're here for you. I'm Lajar Gavelazi, and this is ILTV's Weekly Review.
Israel is today truly fighting a multi-front war. A barrage of UAVs fired by Hezbollah wounded several Israelis in the Galilee. A terrorist murdered a Jewish co-worker by bludgeoning him with a hammer in Samaria. A terrorist entered Tel Aviv from Nablus with a huge bomb strapped on his back. It exploded early, killing the terrorist and wounding a cyclist. Hamas claimed credit and said there would now be a rash of suicide bombings. All this amid expanding IDF operations in the 318-day Gaza war. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken arrived in Israel intent on finalizing the elusive hostage for ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas that could also diffuse threats of Iran and Hezbollah that could spiral into a regional war. Blinken said this is the decisive moment. Ahead of his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Blinken, Prime Minister Netanyahu was sticking to his demands and called for pressure on Hamas to accept Israeli conditions in hostage for ceasefire talks. Netanyahu appeared to lower expectations for an agreement and said that tough negotiations were ongoing.
במקביל, מנהלים משא ומתן לשחרור חטופינו. זו משימה מוסרית ולאומית ראשונה במעלה. אנחנו מנהלים משא ומתן מורכב מאוד, כשבצד השני עומד ארגון טרור רצחני, חסר עכבות וסרבני. אבל אני רוצה להדגיש, אנחנו מקיימים משא ומתן ולא מתן ומתן. יש דברים שאנחנו יכולים להיות גמישים לגביהם, ויש דברים שאנחנו לא יכולים להיות גמישים לגביהם, ואנחנו מתעקשים עליהם. אנחנו יודעים היטב להבדיל בין השניים.
Hamas put out an official statement rejecting the latest hostage proposals discussed in Doha over the weekend. The terror group blamed Prime Minister Netanyahu for putting up new obstacles in the talks. The U.S., Egypt, and Qatari-mediated talks were held last week in Doha and will continue this week in Cairo. U.S. Secretary of State Blinken arrived in Israel for his 9th visit since the start of the war. His first meeting was with President Herzog. Blinken is pressing for a deal between Israel and Hamas that would at the same time lower the potential of an Iranian strike on Israel and regional war.
This is a decisive moment, probably the best, maybe the last opportunity to get the hostages home, to get a ceasefire, and to put everyone on a better path to enduring peace and security. I'm here as part of an intensive diplomatic effort on President Biden's instructions to try to get this agreement to the line and ultimately over the line. It is time for it to get done. It's also time to make sure that no one takes any steps that could derail this process.
Blinken said that the threats from Iran and Hezbollah remain, but his focus is on finalizing the hostage for ceasefire deal.
I know this is a fraught moment in Israel, with deep concern about the possibility of attacks coming from Iran, coming from Hezbollah, and other sources. But the focus of my visit is intensely on getting the hostages back, getting the ceasefire done. It is time for everyone to get to yes and to not look for any excuses to say no.
At the opening day of the Democratic National Convention, presumptive presidential candidate Kamala Harris was asked if she thought that Netanyahu wanted a deal. She said this.
Do you think Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is ready to agree to a ceasefire deal?
I will not speak for him, but I will tell you that these conversations are ongoing and we are not giving up. And we are going to continue to work very hard on this. We got to get a ceasefire and we got to get those hostages out.
And joining me now are Liran Berman, the brother of twin hostages Gali and Ziv Berman, and Itai Raviv, the great-nephew of hostage Avraham Munder. Thank you both so much for taking the time to speak to us. It's been 10 long months since Hamas captured your loved ones. Can each of you share how have you and your families been coping with the fear and the loss and this whole situation? Liran, you start, then Itai.
10 long months of uncertainty, of roller coasters of emotion, of ups and downs. We have no good days. We try to be as active as possible. on all fronts, if the diplomatic front or the media front, the Asbara front. We are doing whatever we can in our power to help facilitate a new deal and to help to release the 115 hostages. But it's been very difficult 10 months. No one ever thought it will last this long.
Absolutely nobody thought it would take this long. Itai, how about you?
Same feelings, pretty much. We've been doing everything we can, and we're very desperate, I have to say, and we're becoming more and more pessimistic to a deal that might be possible. We have not heard a single proof of life. Wom Avram, my great uncle, we do not know his fate, and we're not sure how and if he's surviving 10 months in this hell.
Now, the hostage talks seem closer than ever, especially with this summit going on now, but I know you've heard all of this before. Are you even following the news? Do you believe that a deal will be signed? Itai, what are your thoughts?
I have to say, I've heard it so many times that I don't even listen to it now anymore. Until I see something actual and factual, I don't believe anything. The amount of summits and talks and delegations that came out, it's endless, I think. And I've been saying it for a long time, a deal is possible today. And every time I hear they keep postponing it, I just heard now, yeah, maybe by the end of this week. I think everybody's aware of the price and of everything since a very long time ago. And we don't have any more time to spend. It's been 10 months. We can finish it really soon and save lives.
Thank you. Liran, what is your expectation of the Israeli government right now?
My expectation is for them to do everything they can regarding the hostages. Most of the problems around and in Israel will be solved on its own once the hostages will be back. The war in the north and the evacuees from the south and the north will be able to go back to their homes. Once the hostages will be back, we will withdraw from Gaza, from most of Gaza at least. Once the deal will be facilitated and the hostages will be back, most of the problems will be solved. And this is what I'm expecting from our government right now. There is nothing more important, nothing.
Itai, do you have a message for the negotiating team?
Same like Liran said, this is the expectation. They're still responsible, the government, the delegation team. They need to bring our loved ones back home, and this is what I expect of them.
Perhaps each of you can share one thought or one short memory about your loved ones who are held captive so we can keep them in our hearts and in our prayers. Please, Itai, you start, then Liran.
I think every family event together, and we feel that in every family event since 3 of our loved ones did come back from being a hostage. And when they're back, Avram's not being there is felt, and we need him. The whole family needs to be reunited. Nothing is complete, even though some of the family members have returned. We need him too.
Liran, how about you? Can you share something about your brothers?
Yes. Last July, it's been 1 year since 1 year now. We've been on a trip, all of the family together with Gali and Ziv, in Cyprus, all of us, and it's like the last fun memories that we all have as a family together. It's been exactly 1 year this month, and this is what I want again now, to be a family again and to be together with them again, with Gali and Ziv.
Hopefully, God willing, you'll be together again very, very soon. Nothing, as you say, Itai, will be complete until this happens. Thank you both so much for sharing some of your stories with us today. I know this is an incredibly difficult time, and we really appreciate your courage. Our thoughts are with you.
Thank you.
In Samaria, the IDF is searching for the terrorists responsible for the grisly murder of an Israeli civilian yesterday in the Bar On Industrial Park, where they worked together in the same factory. The Israeli victim was identified as 38-year-old father of three, Gideon Perry, from the community of Kedumim. Perry is an IDF reservist who served in the Gaza war. According to the police, the terrorist attacked Perry with a hammer and then stole the victim's handgun and fled the scene. The attacker reportedly had a work permit to enter Israeli-controlled areas of Samaria, and he worked alongside Perry. Since October, 27 people, including Israeli security personnel, have been killed in terror attacks in Israel, Judea, and Samaria. An additional 5 members of the security forces were killed in clashes with terror operatives in the territories.
Israel is reportedly expecting support from the UK and from France in the event of an Iranian attack. During high-level talks with his British and French counterparts, Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz conveyed that Israel would seek active assistance from these European allies should Iran strike. Katz's statement highlights the deepening ties between Israel and key European powers, emphasizing the strategic importance of collective security against potential threats from Tehran. The Israeli government believes that a coordinated response from the UK, France, and other allies would be crucial if Iran were to escalate its actions, particularly through military aggression and via an expected retaliatory strike against Israel. Additionally, Israel has long viewed Iran's nuclear ambitions as an existential threat, and the possibility of Iran achieving nuclear capabilities is a red line for the Israeli government. The involvement of European powers in these discussions signals Israel's intent to broaden its defensive network beyond the alliances with the United States. As Israel continues to navigate multiple simultaneous challenges, its leaders are focused on ensuring that they're not standing alone if tensions with Iran boil over into open conflict. Federal police in Argentina have dismantled a terrorist cell planning attacks against the Jewish community. 7 suspects were arrested and multiple raids led to the seizure of weapons and electronic devices. ILTV's editor-in-chief Mayan Hoffman has more.
A terrorist cell targeting Argentina's Jewish community was dismantled by federal police, according to the National Security Ministry. 7 members of the group were arrested, and police conducted 8 raids, seizing firearms, knives, and electronic devices. This marks the second such incident this year. In January, Argentine police arrested 3 people with Syrian and Lebanese citizenship, also suspected of plotting a terrorist attack. Libertarian President Javier Milei, a strong supporter of both the Jewish community and Israel, recently pledged to strengthen the national intelligence system to prevent future attacks. In July, Argentina designated Hamas as a terrorist organization and froze the group's financial assets. Argentina has the largest Jewish population in Latin America, but has also been the site of the deadliest attacks against a Jewish community in South American history. In 1994, an attack on the Buenos Aires Jewish Community Center killed 85 people and wounded hundreds more. 2 years earlier, in 1992, an attack on the Israeli embassy killed 22 people. Argentina's judiciary has accused members of Lebanon's Iran-backed Hezbollah group of carrying out both attacks.
Turning north, where the deadly cross-border exchanges continue between Israel and Hezbollah. 5 people were reported injured during an attack by a swarm of drones. A number of Israelis were wounded this morning as a barrage of rockets and UAVs were launched by Hezbollah toward the Upper Galilee and Western Galilee, including the city of Nahariya. A fire broke out due to one of the UAVs, causing some of the injuries. Earlier, fighter jets attacked launchers of the Hezbollah terrorists in the Kabria area in South Lebanon, from which launches were made toward the Upper Galilee area. In another attack in the Sheba area, fighter jets attacked and destroyed a weapons warehouse used by Hezbollah. Turning to day 318 of the war in Gaza, the IDF is expanding operations where Hamas has managed to fire rockets toward Israel. The 98th Division intensified Gaza raids following intelligence on terror activity and rocket launches. Operations expanded in Khan Yunis and Deir al-Balach. A paratrooper was seriously wounded in the fighting by an anti-tank missile. Troops are continuing their search for more underground tunnels. Supported by heavy fire, troops destroyed dozens of terror infrastructures and eliminated terror cells. The 7th Brigade has advanced toward the outskirts of Deir al-Balach in central Gaza after neutralizing dozens of terrorists and destroying underground tunnels in northern Khan Yunis. Throughout the day, sirens sounded in the south, including in the Nir Oz and Nirim areas. No injuries were reported. A bomb exploded in Tel Aviv last night, resulting in one fatality. Authorities have named the incident a terror attack, calling on citizens to remain vigilant. The terrorist is reportedly from Nablus, but he has not been identified. Hamas and Islamic Jihad have taken responsibility for the attempted attack and are vowing a wave of suicide bombings. ILTV's Mayan Hoffman has more.
Police have confirmed today that a powerful explosive that detonated last night at around 8 p.m. on Lehi Road in Tel Aviv was a terror attack. The bomber, who is suspected of wearing the explosive, was killed in the incident, and a passerby was moderately wounded. Since last night, Tel Aviv District Police, officers from the Police Bomb Disposal Unit, and forensic investigators, in collaboration with the Israel Security Agency, have been working at the scene where police found the mutilated body of the suspected terrorist. Tel Aviv District Commander Deputy Commissioner Peretz Amar said the person had not been identified due to the severity of his injuries. Still, an organ has been sent to a lab for forensic identification.
כוחות שהגיעו למקום הבחינו באמת בגופה מרוטשת עם סימנים של פיצוץ שהיו על הקיר.
The second victim, who was riding a scooter nearby, suffered shrapnel wounds to his lower body. He is being treated in the hospital, and police hope he can provide information about what he saw. On Monday, police urged citizens to remain vigilant and to report any suspicious person or object.
Hamas hostage Romi Gonen's family gathered in Tel Aviv last night to celebrate her 24th birthday. The event coincided with the Jewish holiday of Tu B'Av, the holiday of love, aimed to give Romi and the other captors strength. More on that story from ILTV's Mayan Hoffman.
The family of captured Israeli Romi Gonen marked her 24th birthday in Tel Aviv Sunday evening with hundreds of guests. Romi's family said it planned the evening to give her strength and to remind the public of the hostages' plight.
We could choose stay at home and, be alone with our pain. But we chose different.
Today we're focusing on hope because we want to give her strength, her and every other hostage that maybe will see us.
Romi was abducted from the Nova Open Air Music Festival on October 7. Before contact was lost, Romi was able to call her family and inform them that she had been shot. Her father recalled the last words they heard were from the attackers, who spoke in Arabic, saying, "She is alive, let's take her." Her phone was later tracked to the Gaza Strip. Some 364 Israelis were murdered at the Nova Festival. Gonen is one of 115 Israeli hostages still being held in Gaza out of the more than 250 originally captured by the terror organization. More than a third of the remaining hostages are considered to be dead.
And we need to celebrate for her and to remind everyone that she's still alive and she's still held captivity, and we need her to come home.
Last night and today, Israelis are celebrating Tu B'Av, the Jewish Valentine's Day. But for those whose loved ones are still in Gaza, like Gonen, the holiday brings little joy. In Tel Aviv, Ziv Abad, whose 27-year-old partner Elia Cohn was kidnapped from the Nova Festival, set up a romantic table on the beach last night. She sat on one side, and on the other, she placed a poster of Elia. The scene touched hundreds of passerby who stopped to offer condolences and help raise awareness of the hostages' situation. How can you celebrate Valentine's Day when the love of your life is not with you? Abad posted on Instagram. When will love defeat evil? When will Elia and all the other 114 hostages return to Israel? Former hostage Noah Argamani also marked the holiday with a message to her partner, Avinatan Or, who is still in Hamas captivity in Gaza. Alongside a picture of her kissing Or on the beach, Argamani wrote that she was wishing us many more kisses and days full of love, together and not apart.
In the U.S., pro-Palestinian demonstrators clashed with security outside the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, leading to several arrests. At the same time, pro-Israeli protesters and hostage families were also in the Windy City, hoping to spread a message for the release of Israeli hostages. More from ILTV's editor, Mayan Hoffman.
At least 4 pro-Palestinian demonstrators were arrested on Monday outside the Democratic National Convention in Chicago after they broke through part of the perimeter security fence, drawing riot police to the site. At no point was there any threat to attendees. The protesters were among thousands of people who turned out to march on the day that U.S. President Joe Biden delivered his speech. They held signs that read, "Stand with Palestine" and "End U.S. aid to Israel," among other messages. At one point, chants of "Killer Kamala" could be heard.
Kamala Harris has expressed her sympathies for the Palestinian people and what they're going through, but nice words is not enough. We want action, and that's why we're here saying that she should call for an arms embargo. She should say that the United States should not be giving this rock-solid support to Israel. She should say that the U.S. shouldn't be vetoing resolutions at the United Nations. She should show us that her policy is not going to be the same one as Joe Biden's.
Protesters, including Palestinian and Arab Americans, turned out in much smaller numbers than the expected tens of thousands. Still, they aim to send a message to the Democratic Party. Their votes must be earned. The Israel-Hamas war, now in its 11th month, has weakened support for Democrats among Muslim and Arab American voters, who are vital in key battleground states like Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania.
I want to tell the Democrats that they don't have our votes unless they meet our demands. The Democrats think that just because they're not Trump, they deserve our votes. We need our voices to be heard. I don't want to spend any more money sending bombs to Israel. That's how we all feel, and we're not going to just roll over for them.
A small number of pro-Israel supporters were also in attendance at a counter-rally, pushing the U.S. to continue to support Israel and its right to defend itself. Many said they had already decided to vote for the alternative, former U.S. President Donald Trump.
I am going to vote for the only party that is protecting the Jewish people right now, which is the Republican Party and President Donald J. Trump.
I think from what I've observed, I think the Republican Party has been more strong on supporting Israel as our strongest ally in the Middle East at this point.
In addition, family members of 8 American hostages were in the crowd Monday evening when Biden took to the main stage. The president called for an end of the Gaza war and emphasized peace for Israel while acknowledging the pro-Palestinian protesters outside.
After a long and risky operation in Gaza overnight, the IDF recovered the bodies of 6 hostages from a tunnel in Khan Yunis. They are the bodies of Chaim Perry, Yoram Metzger, Avraham Mundar, Nadav Popwell, Alex Danzig, and Yagev Bushtab. Mundar was not previously counted among the dead. 109 hostages, living and dead, remain in Hamas captivity. The rescue operation was conducted under the command of the 98th Division and carried out by the Paratroopers Brigade Yahalom Unit and the 75th Battalion, along with Shabak forces. Back in Israel, the bodies went through an identification procedure carried out by the National Institute of Forensic Medicine and the Israel Police. The families of the hostages were notified. The 6 victims were all captured alive on October 7th and later killed by Hamas in Gaza. In May, Hamas released a video of Perry and Mundar as part of their psychological warfare, depicting the desperate situation of these elderly men.
For more of the latest updates from Israel, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at iltv.tv or download the ILTV Plus app. That's it for ILTV's weekly review. Stay safe and see you next week.